Ever wondered how one family could go from struggling to live paycheck to paycheck to becoming a household name in sports? But it wasn't just about talent, it was about determination, resilience, and breaking barriers. The start of the meltdown. In the winter of 2011, the world witnessed a transformation that would solidify Charlie Sheen's name in pop culture for years to come. The actor, once adored for his role in the popular TV sitcom 2.5 Men, suddenly found himself thrust into the spotlight for reasons no one could have anticipated. His erratic behavior, wild rants, and bizarre public statements marked the beginning of what many saw as a public meltdown. But Sheen, never one to shy away from controversy, was quick to declare that he was living life on his terms, famously coining the phrase, "winning." This phrase quickly became a viral sensation, symbolizing Sheen's bravado in the face of his personal chaos. But the truth was more complex than just a catchphrase. Charlie Sheen was at a crossroads, torn between the weight of his past and a desire to redefine his future. He wasn't just facing a career crisis, he was dealing with intense personal battles that the public had never seen before. In a candid interview, Charlie spoke about the dark days leading up to this public unraveling. Despite his apparent confidence, it became clear that Sheen was grappling with addiction, failed relationships, and a long history of reckless behavior. "I am on drugs. It's called Charlie Sheen. It's not available, but if you try it, you will die," he quipped. But it was more than just a joke, it was a cry for attention, a way to cope with his rapidly spiraling life. The bizarre rants and tiger blood. One of the most memorable aspects of Sheen's meltdown was his infamously strange interviews, where he seemed to embrace his chaos rather than shy away from it. On one occasion, he proudly proclaimed that he had tiger blood running through his veins, a bizarre metaphor for his perceived invincibility. Sheen's claim that he was winning, despite all the destruction around him, became a rallying cry for some, while others viewed it as delusional. "I have a different brain, a different heart, and tiger blood," Sheen declared. But these statements, dripping with arrogance and defiance, only served to alienate those around him and confuse the public. Behind the bravado, though, was a man struggling with his identity and his place in the world. Charlie had been riding high on the success of 2.5 Men, but his battles with addiction, his volatile relationships, and his reckless lifestyle were slowly eroding everything he had worked for. The winning mantra was less about success and more about trying to convince himself and others that he was still in control of his life. At the same time, his interviews often teetered on the edge of madness, with Sheen acting out in front of cameras as if he were a rock star surrounded by sycophants. In these moments, his sense of invincibility seemed to grow, and his sense of responsibility began to fade. Was he really invincible, or was he simply spiraling deeper into a personal abyss? A life of excess and recklessness. As Sheen's behavior became more unpredictable, the media and the public began to focus more on his personal life. His nights of excess were well documented, particularly the infamous evenings spent with porn stars and wild parties. It was clear that Sheen's lifestyle was dangerous. He was living on the edge, indulging in drugs, partying relentlessly, and engaging in destructive behavior. In one shocking moment, Sheen admitted to using drugs to such an extreme degree that it seemed almost unbelievable. "I was banging 7G rocks and finishing them because that's how I roll. I have one speed, I have one gear. Go," he exclaimed. His reckless attitude towards drugs and alcohol seemed to further distance him from reality. To him, it was a badge of honor, proof that he was living life on his own terms. But there was also an underlying darkness to these statements. Sheen was on a destructive path that, if not corrected, would lead to inevitable ruin. And it wasn't just his personal life that was on the line. His career, his relationships, and even his health were all at risk. For every moment of winning, there were far darker moments where Sheen's life appeared to be crumbling before his very eyes. The show must go on, or not. Amidst his erratic behavior, Sheen's career was at a pivotal point. 2.5 Men had been one of the highest-rated shows on television, and Sheen was one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood. But after several on-set blow-ups, interviews laced with profanity and incoherence, and a disastrous fallout with the show's creator Chuck Lorre, Sheen was fired from the show. This marked the moment when his career took a nosedive. CBS made the difficult decision to halt production on the show for the remainder of the season, costing the network millions of dollars. But Sheen, ever the rebel, didn't go quietly into the night. Instead, he vowed to sue the network for breach of contract and later claimed he would sue for $300 million. "They're going to lose in a courtroom," Sheen boasted. For a man who had spent much of his life in the public eye, this lawsuit was his way of fighting back. He was no longer the Hollywood golden boy, he was the embattled icon, taking on the system that he felt had wronged him. Yet, as much as Sheen raged against CBS, his personal and professional battles were far from over. The lawsuit was just one chapter in a much larger narrative that was still unfolding. The role of family and goddesses. Despite his public tirades and erratic behavior, there was one group of people who continued to stand by Charlie Sheen: his family. It wasn't just his children who were in his life, but a group of women who he referred to as his goddesses. These women were an integral part of his life during the height of his meltdown, providing emotional support and comfort in ways that only they could. The long road to redemption. As time passed, Charlie Sheen began to slowly pull himself out of the chaos he had created. His outlandish public persona began to fade, and he seemed to embrace a more sober and reflective lifestyle. Sheen spoke candidly about his efforts to stay clean, admitting that he had come to a place where he had answered to a higher calling. "I blinked, and I cured my brain," he stated with conviction. For Sheen, recovery was not just about abstaining from drugs, it was about changing his mindset and embracing a new life that was focused on his family, his work, and a sense of purpose. "What I'm harnessing now is absolute focus. It's exciting," Sheen remarked, signaling that he was ready to move past the chaos and into a more grounded existence. Thanks for tuning in. Charlie Sheen's public meltdown was one of the most bizarre, chaotic, and captivating chapters in celebrity history. Will he rise from the ashes, or is he destined for another downfall? Only time will tell. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below with your thoughts. See you in the next video.